welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my office and my desk and my personal space.
My personal space.
And this is going to be a new series of videos that I call the Desk Series.
Giant big ass desk?
Because I couldn't come up with anything better. Anyway, in these Desk Series, you're going to see me sort of trying to engage with you, the audience, through the comments, because they took the community tab away from me because I didn't make any videos for over a year, and now I don't have that feature anymore. But anyway, I want to get personal with this in these with you guys, and what I mean by that is I just kind of want to ask questions and see how the general photography, videography, or anyone who's interested in watching my content feels about these kinds of things. And today, I just wanted to talk about whether or not we're expecting too much. And what I mean by that is, cameras over the last several years have made great strides technologically. I mean, we have a lot of features. We've got AI autofocus, we have the ability to record internally in ProRes and even RAW in some cameras, where previously even ProRes, which is, I won't say inferior to RAW, but isn't as large, required an external recorder or some sort of camera that was previously only used by professionals in the filmmaking industry in Hollywood or wherever. And now we have those kinds of features jam-packed in these little things right here, these little Fujifilm X-H2S's and Canon R5s and things like that. And what prompted me to ask this question was, I'm a member of communities, Discord chats and things like that, and I saw a comment the other day where someone was a little bit upset that a newly released color space wasn't available in some of what I would think are marketed as entry-level cameras, which it would make sense to me that those cameras don't have it, but when you look at them from a technical standpoint, they have the same processors and the same sensors as other cameras that got it. So they're just like, why didn't I get it too? Which I can understand, but at the same time, I'm kind of just like, are we expecting too much? Because obviously these manufacturers, they tier their offerings on purpose because not everyone can afford the highest end offering, so they want to give you something, otherwise you're going to go end up spending that money somewhere else. And when there are choices, the consumer ends up winning, so they try to put out as many offerings as possible. But at the same time, with the wealth of information available to us through things like YouTube, we can just type in and look up and see how this director shot this film and why did he do it in this color space, and why it's such a high ISO and different things like that, and we can say, oh, I can do that on my camera. And camera manufacturers have started to realize that, especially with the fact that almost everyone does Instagram or TikTok or YouTube now, and they want better quality video. So this is a result, actually, of us as consumers' demands, and now I think we're getting to a peak. Because where do we go from here? It's not going to be too long before a lot of cameras have 8K RAW internal recording available to them. And really, like with all these different color spaces and things, where do we go from there? And we all know that that's, if you have that on the video side, then you're probably more than capable of taking a good picture with the camera. Yeah. So that's a whole other question in and of itself, is where do we go from here? And, while even little tiny affordable cameras, somewhat affordable, like this little DJI Action 4, this is one of the first ones that had 32-bit float internal audio recording. For those of you who don't know what that is, it is a really wide dynamic range of audio. It simplifies your setup, kind of. It allows you to just push record and not really worry about the audio environment because you have so much bandwidth, you can fix most of it in your editor. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, We've been using 24-bit for years, and even 24-bit still has a pretty broad range and is easily manipulated in your editor in post. So is the 32-bit really necessary? Am I expecting too much that my camera doesn't have 32-bit but this one does? I mean, And then you start to think, okay, well, when is it going to peak? Like, I mean, come on, 32-bit audio used to only be available to audio professionals and recording studios, or those people that did audio for films. And now we have it available to us, and half of us probably will never even use that much bandwidth or even know how to. Now I'm just kind of sitting thinking, being philosophical? Yeah, maybe, I guess, maybe not. It's like, have we peaked, and are we expecting too much, and when are they going to cross? Like, when is it going to peak to the point where we can't expect anything more? Because it's getting there. I mean, even these tiny little handheld cameras are just as good as some of are even better than some professionally shot movies. The cameras that they were using for professionally shot movies, in the late 90s and early 2000s that were digital. And we still love those movies. Anyway, it's kind of in a marketing thing too. Like, I see why they're still tiering things, obviously, because they want the money, and they need to kind of milk that for as long as they can, because if they make 32-bit float and 8K RAW available on everything, then it doesn't really matter what camera you buy. And these manufacturers are fighting for your loyalty. They want your brand loyalty. And kind of these days it doesn't really matter what brand you're with. I mean, in my experience, there are two camps. There's the fanboys that will never let go of the Canon or the Sony or the Nikon in their hands, and they will always be with that brand. And then there's others that don't mind switching on occasion. It is expensive to switch. Lenses aren't cheap, and to have to buy a whole nother set is never fun. But if you find something that suits your needs that may be a little bit cheaper, which is why I went with Fujifilm from Canon, that's an option. And then also, we fall victim to marketing. We see these other YouTubers and people that we follow on the Instagram and things like that, and they're using these cameras. So we feel like we kind of need to too, even though we may not need it. And then at the end of the day, we'll create a video, we'll list off all of our equipment, and sometimes I think that we end up creating for other creators to say, hey, look what I did. And we end up losing touch with why we originally started this in the first place. When I started, I didn't care if whoever saw my photo or my video knew what kind of camera or what kind of equipment I was using, as long as they enjoyed it. And now with all the social media, we kind of get tied back to, was this as good as so-and-so's? And I need to tell people this is what I'm using, and I need my affiliate links, and then we kind of lose touch with why we started in the first place. Anyway, welcome to my desk series. There will be more like this to come. Please leave comments down below until I can get my community tab back, where we can all collaborate a little bit more close, and we'll just go from there. And in the meantime, let's just keep making cool stuff.